And good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the first episode of Challenger Under Construction. Hope you're all doing well. I've seen some people speculating about who the character could be. Nobody's gotten it right yet. And even if you did, I wouldn't have told you. But hello, everybody that made it. Let me just put on some background music. Right, perfect. Hope you're all doing well. It's nice to finally see one of these. I'm glad that my sleeping schedule is on track enough to actually have done it. Or started doing it, I guess. For those of you that don't know what this series is going to be, these streams are basically going to be me making a character from start to finish live on stream. This includes everything from brainstorming move ideas to actually creating those moves in SFM. Stuff like the script and the special attack trails will be done on my own time, but everything else is being done here. Today is actually probably going to be, depending on what you value in character design, today's either going to be the most boring day or the most interesting day, because today is like the day that is purely dedicated to just brainstorming ideas and just throwing things at the wall and seeing what sticks. And this series was originally my way of just like, there's a bunch of characters that I'd love to cover, but I don't really have the motivation to cover on my own time, so maybe if I turn this into a streaming series, I'll be able to actually, do something interesting and actually, something will actually come out of it. But yeah, I guess I should ask, who here wants... Before I unveil the character, does anybody have any last minute guesses? Just throw some names in the chat. Let's see if any of you have, let's see if any of you get close. Is this a new variation of Ready for Battle? No, Ready for Battle, if you didn't see the update video, Ready for Battle is still a thing that's going to come back in June. Either mid to late June. This is something completely on its own. I like the person that said Mario. I'm gonna say, if you saw the character in the banner for the update video, they're not in this. Those are actual projects that I'm actually working on. So for all of you saying Helldiver, no, this is not the Helldiver. Trust me, I don't need an excuse to boot up Helldivers and play it on stream. seeing a lot of Pokemon requests. Funnily enough, I'll say this. It originally was going to be a Pokemon. I'm not going to tell you which one, but it was going to be one. But I actually changed it about 3 or so weeks ago. It's Goku. To be honest, I did want to make a April Fool's video for Goku at some point, at least to honor Toriyama after his passing. Funnily enough, I am more than certain that people would not guess which Pokemon it was. Because it was not a starter. And it wasn't a legendary either. Pre or post DBZ Goku? It would specifically be DBZ Goku. Have I already made a moveset for Weavile? I used to have like a concept for Cyrus, who had Weavile on his team, but that design is like lost somewhere, so no. What about Spiritomb? What about Spiritomb? You know, I think it's time. I'm leaving you in the dark a little bit long, so let me just pull this up. The character that I will be covering first here on Challenger Under Construction is Metal Sonic. Ta-da! Just give the chat a second to catch up, because I know that it's like 30 seconds behind. Metal Sonic is a character that is so damn cool and has been nothing but missed opportunity by everyone I've seen do a moveset on him. Arguably one of the coolest characters in the franchise that he comes from. Will he be an Echo? Nope. He is very much his own character. Originally, the first episode of this was going to be, if I can find the render, because I did make a render for the character, even though I decided against it. The first character that I was going to do was Darkrai. And I guess for one reason or another, I don't really know what pushed me to go for Metal Sonic over Darkrai. But yeah, he even got his own render and everything. And yes, I made both of these renders. And yeah, so today, the big focus of today is we're brainstorming ideas for Metal Sonic. We're coming up with how we want him to play. We're going to discuss how his character mechanic can work. And we're going to design the core aspects of this character. Yes, I'm also doing Delphox, and no, they're not United Designs, they're actual movesets for the actual characters. One of the reasons I was going to do Darkrai first is because I wanted to show how I design intricate character mechanics. And I was designing one, I came up with one for Darkrai that involved slowly pulling the opponent into a nightmare where sleep effects will deal damage over time and they'll become more affected by illusionary abilities. It didn't get super far, but the concept was but there was a lot to it. And I thought that that would be a nice place to start in showing people how I design characters with such complicated mechanics. Yes, it's also because of ZA. But, yeah. The first character that we're going to be covering in this, we're going to be covering good old... Just gonna put down on the screen there. First character we're covering is Metal Sonic. Now, one of the main things that I think people miss with Metal Sonic, at least from what I've seen, is that there aren't many aspects to Metal Sonic as a character, at least from what people have shown. He doesn't feel... It feels too organic, I guess is the best way I could put it. And also somewhat the most vague way I can put it. How many characters am I working on this stream? Just one. This one's going to be one that we're probably going to be working on for months. How many jumps? Probably 2. I mean, yeah, 2. Say standard amount of jumps. And by when I say organic, I mean that machines, by their design, are meant to, when they're put to solve a task, they do so in the quickest and most efficient way possible. I imagine him to be floaty. But yes, machines don't stop to think about things. They have a goal. They know what their abilities are, and they go straight for it in the most efficient way possible. And I think that I think copying Sonic is also something that openly harms the character, in my opinion. And I'll get to the way that people design Metal Sonic's copy, which frankly is really, really bad and sort of misses the entire mark of what Metal Sonic's ability to copy is in general. Metal Sonic should be a perfectly tuned Sonic, in my opinion, having tools which allow him to carry out a perfect rushdown game plan to a greater level of efficiency than Sonic can. And I agree. As a matter of fact, we're just gonna just put this here for notes. As I said, today is the brainstorming day. So obviously, we want Metal Sonic to be rushdown like Sonic. He's tied for fastest character in the game. Obviously, he has to be the same speed as Sonic. However, because he's a machine, he doesn't need to worry about things like stamina, so same speed, but improved acceleration. This comes at the cost of being more unruly at max speed. But in the way that Metal Sonic's turbine engine is described, whether or not he's faster than Sonic is irrelevant, but he's capable of reaching his maximum speed at a notably quicker pace than Sonic can. He doesn't build up his speed, he can just instantly move at maximum speed if he wants to. But I think that would have to come at the cost of being notably hard to control. Even in games where both Sonic and Metal Sonic are playable, Metal Sonic tend to have the same amount of speed, but Metal Sonic gets there quicker, but he's notably more slippery. What I think of him being momentum-based, requiring a lot of hard reads, I think that makes no sense for a machine. Again, machines are about being efficient. And Metal Sonic should be a character that's built around tight efficiency. Also, I'm gonna get this out of the way. Same weight value as Sonic. Yes, I know that Metal Sonic, canonically weighs nearly 300 pounds because he's a giant piece of... because he's a fucking clanker, but, we're working in Smash values and not actual values. Mewtwo and Metal Sonic weigh around the exact same, and Mewtwo is technically lighter than a Pikachu, which weighs 10 pounds. Also, since he has claws, we want a heavy emphasis on claw-based attacks. Where Sonic would punch, Metal should slash. Clanker is a slur to robots. And it is a canonical slur invented by the Star Wars series. And of course, since this is Metal Sonic, and we all know what Metal Sonic's most iconic, or I guess, would it be his most iconic ability? It's definitely one of his more infamous abilities. Character mechanic focuses on his ability to copy and replicate data. Now, the big thing that pisses me off with the way that I've seen this be done is that they entirely miss the point of what it means to copy somebody's data and replicate it. Because from the way that it has been shown, why does Metal Sonic need to copy somebody's data to use a move that he should already know how to use? That makes no sense. That's adaptation, that's not copying somebody's data. And there's a big difference between replication and adaptation. Not to mention, putting so much of Metal's design around it kind of takes away from all the really cool shit that he can already do. It should add on to his character, not be the central aspect of it. Metal Sonic should be He's a highly aggressive rushdown fighter. With a heavy focus on exploiting weaknesses and using the opponent's strengths against them. I don't like when people just make him a copy and paste of Sonic, ignoring the amount of original things he has. Especially when he's clearly a character that wants to prove he's better, so why would he just needlessly copy a character that he thinks is inferior to himself? Obviously, he'd want to use abilities that he deems to be superior. But the biggest question is, how do you make copying somebody's data work? Now, thankfully, there is no canonical example for how Metal Sonic actually copies his data. There is no, there's nothing to work off of. Because in Sonic Heroes, we basically already see him in a powered up state by the time he's confirmed to have copied data. We don't even know how he went from Metal Sonic to Neo Metal either. Oh, and by the way, Neo Metal is not a costume. I'm not even gonna argue with this. If you look at Metal Sonic next to Neo Metal, their proportions are so vastly different, and they look so weird next to each other. Not happening. Neo Metal could appear in the Final Smash, but like Metal Sonic as he is definitely... This is what he's always going to look like. Always had in mind that Metal Sonic should be at best have 2 Sonic moves and that's it. Well, I think you should have spin moves, because I gave them to Shadow as well. And that's because they are a core part of just the way that Sonic as a platformer works. Like, Metal Sonic's probably going to have a spin attack neutral air. I don't know if he's gonna... I don't think I would give him a spin dash. I know he has one in his playable... like, his only playable platformer appearance in Sonic the Hedgehog 4 Episode 2. But I don't think I would give it to him. Costumes, for the most part, are inconsequential, but I definitely think that his color should revolve. If we want to let him change his color, I think that we should focus on having him copy the colors of other robots and other transformations that he's had in the past. Like, he should have a color that's Metal Sonic Kai. He should have a color that's like Mecha Sonic from Sonic 3. He should have a color that's Silver Sonic from Sonic 2. Would you pull from how Seth copies special moves in Street Fighter V? I'm getting to that. I have an idea on how to make it work. And there is a way to make it work, because there's a character in the past, in fighting games, that has had abilities like this, that were altered when put into a game with a shit ton of characters. And it worked. I'll explain it more, but we're getting there. Is Metal Overlord a Final Smash? I feel that Metal Overlord has to be the Final Smash. He needs the Metal Sonic 3.0 skin. Funny enough you say that, because I actually have, I actually already have everything set up for SFM to go. And this is the model that we will be using for Metal Sonic. Funny enough, the person that made this, it actually comes with a free Metal Sonic 3.0 skin. Implemented so I don't need to make any changes. I can just pose them and then take a picture and that's it. Oh god, don't invert, please. Did 3.0 ever appear in the games, or is that just a comics thing? He appeared in Sonic Rivals 1. And that's it. But yes, back to where I was. Metal Sonic's attacks should feel like a machine efficiently carrying out its task. Lack of flashiness, but heavy on effectiveness. Metal Sonic is a character that should have no reason to show off, because he's not here to show off, he's here to kill you. So, where Sonic would show off, Metal Sonic would not, because he has no reason to. Again, you want to make it feel more cold, more mechanical, playing into that aspect of Metal Sonic. And again, he's a machine, but that's basically what his personality is. And you gotta, if you want to design a clanker, you gotta think like a clanker. What does that say about his combo routes? Are they very streamlined and practical? Basically, that's exactly what that means. I think the machine would know when to push, when to back off. Unlike the way I designed Shadow, the way I designed Shadow was his personality is once he starts a fight, he's not going to stop until either his opponent's finished or he's like knocked flat on his ass. Metal Sonic as a machine has no reason to engage if the calculations state that he is more than likely going to lose that exchange. Well, I think on the moveset from PMEX Remix, 6 out of 10. But yeah, Metal Sonic as a machine should probably have a flowchart. He probably would have a flowchart. So let's talk about... Hang on a second. Let's talk about how we're going to design his character mechanic. And this is very important. Again, coming up with the design for a character mechanic is one of the first things that I do when I want to design how a character is going to play. Because so much of how that character is going to play and feel is dictated by their central mechanic in some way, shape, or form. Even if the character mechanic is nothing more than describing how the character would move and interact compared to other characters, and isn't actually like a character system, it's extremely important. So we're going to come up with a character mechanic. And we're going to call it data extraction. Now, how are we going to make this work? That's the real question here. One way you could do it is you could have him naturally adapt as the match goes on, but that's something that could potentially run into readability issues, and they're just not translating super well into a fighting game. Now, the concept of analyzing and adapting to the abilities of your opponent is interesting. And frankly, I think it'd be really neat if there was a character, not Metal Sonic, because it doesn't inherently work for him, but it'd be neat if there was a character that could analyze the way their opponent plays and gain buffs that correlate against their weaknesses. Like, you scan Incineroar and you get a speed boost to just make his life even worse. Now, to better describe how I want this to work, actually going to pull up a video to show this, just to get my idea across and to explain this further when I get into it. But back in the year 1995, a little game came out called X-Men vs. Street Fighter. And one of the playable characters in that game is Rogue from the X-Men, you know. Character that everybody is falling in love all over with again because of Marvel Rivals. Yes, she was first introduced into the Versus series in X-Men vs. Street Fighter, along with a majority of the X-Men characters. She had the ability, I'm just going to pull this up, she had the ability to, through a use of a command grab, essentially take a move from any character on the roster. And it was really cool. The problem is that X-Men vs. Street Fighter is like a game with like 16 characters in it. So while it might work here, wouldn't work on a roster with like 50 to 60 something characters, or in Smash's case, 80 something characters. So the way that they fix this, when Rogue came back in Marvel vs. Capcom 2, is instead of giving her a new move every time she copied somebody, she got a stat bonus depending on which character she absorbed. These buffs were temporary, and they added a lot to the character. I think that this is exactly how Metal Sonic's data extraction should work in a game like Smash Brothers. So, let's put the music back on. The way this works is, when Metal Sonic uses, we're going to say this is his down special. We're going to call it data extraction. We might change this later on, but this is what we're going with for now. Forcefully extract data from his foes. I would imagine it would be very similar to the way that Seth does it in Street Fighter V, except, you know, themed to make more sense from Metal Sonic. This applying a buff that depends on the character that he copied the data from. And we're going to list those here. Data extraction types. We're going to call these modifications. Like, let's say that Metal Sonic absorbs a character that focuses around aerial mobility and has like a lot of jumps, like Kirby, Man Knight, King Dedede, Pit. Actually, Pit only has 4 jumps. But you know, those characters that have a lot of aerial mobility, we're going to call this the aerial modification. So let's say when Metal Sonic copies like Kirby or Jigglypuff, Metal Sonic will gain 3rd jump, and as a bonus, can hover in midair by holding the jump button. Data extraction would not, I would say right off the bat, it would not stack. No, I'll even list that. Once data is copied, it must be flushed from Metal Sonic's system by re-inputting down special in order to copy another character's data. Now, obviously, Metal Sonic being one of the fastest characters in the game is a problem. How about we make it even faster if he copies a character that's almost as quick as he is? It's like, oh, you're almost as fast as me. Let me make it worse for you. We're going to call this one the velocity modification. We're going to say that Metal Sonic gains a boost to his speed and his initial dash, making him the fastest character in the game. But you know what? That on its own is kind of boring. So how about we give him a little bit something more to go along with that speed? How about Metal Sonic will be able to carry his momentum when he jumps mid-dash. That's right, we're sneaking melee mechanics. We're sneaking melee mechanics back into Smash Brothers. They won't put them in normally, so we're gonna sneak them in through Metal Sonic's moveset. So he gets a boost to his speed, and he gets to carry his momentum when he jumps. So he has to sneak in a melee mechanic when he's jumping. This has potential to make to make room for new combos. This also has the potential to put you at greater risk if you don't know how to control the character. Wait, that was a mechanic in Melee? Yes. The basic properties of physics were once a mechanic in Melee, they're lost to Smash. Okay. But maybe he wants to absorb a character with a notable amount of bulk. You know, like a character like K. Rool, Bowser, Donkey Kong. If he's going to have offensive buffs, he needs defensive ones. So we're going to call this defense matrix physical modification. And this is probably going to be the most straightforward out of all of them. We're going to say Metal Sonic gains an extra 20 weight values. So it goes up from 86 to 106, putting on par with like characters like Snake. And as a bonus, he will take, and he will now take 15% less knockback from all physical attacks. Not projectiles. They don't, nothing here about projectiles, just physical attacks. This has the potential to be a double-edged sword because while it makes his survivability better, it also makes him easier to combo. But this is just physical. What if he's dealing with a character that's central mechanic, sorry, I almost hit my mic, is projectiles. So we're going to call this Defense Matrix Projectile Modification. The way this one's going to work, and this is probably the most intricate one I can imagine it being, is Metal Sonic's specials will gain new properties. With neutral special becoming a long-range projectile attack, and other moves gaining a boost to their priority to help him attack through incoming projectiles. But if we snuck in one melee mechanic, I'm sure we can sneak in another. So, as a bonus to that, perfect shields will now reflect projectiles. Let's save this so I don't lose it. Stop talking about Tails. We're not talking about Tails. We're talking about Metal Sonic. Is the projectile transcendent? Also, you know what? I'm actually going to add this. I'm going to put this here just so that I don't have to bring this up later. Metal Sonic's shield is the black shield. The black diamond shield. It is a new type of shield that cannot be shield poked, but will cause Metal Sonic to overheat and stun himself if he holds it for too long. It's called the Black Diamond. Black Shield, Sorry, let me double check to see what it's actually called. Okay, it's just called the Black Shield. We're gonna delete the diamond because it's in the shape of a diamond. Any special properties? It's like Yoshi's where it can't be shield poked. So with the Defense Matrix projectile modification, the Black Shield, if you perfect parry a projectile, it will reflect back at its user, just like it does in Melee. Is it weaker than other shields? No, it's the same. It's just nice flavor to fit with Metal Sonic as a character. I imagine that it would start flashing the closer it's getting to overheating Metal Sonic's system. And then once it overheats, he goes into a stun animation like every other character does. But of course, there's always going to be characters that hit hard. You know, your Ganondorfs, your Kazuya's, your Roy's. And obviously, you're going to want to use their strength against them. And that comes in the form of the offense modification. Where I was calling it that. I almost wanted to call it the violence modification, but I think the offense just makes more sense. I wouldn't know if it's in the game with spirits. I don't play with spirits and don't really care about the spirits in general. But essentially, the offense modification, probably super simple. Metal Sonic will gain 1.25 damage multiplier on all of his physical attacks, excluding any projectile-oriented special moves. And as a bonus, all attacks now deal extra shield damage, allowing him to set up potential shield break combos easier than he did before. Yeah, I'm probably going to write down a list of which characters create which shield. Sorry, which modification. And I think the final one that I'm going to go with, you know, for the more combo-centric characters, we're going to call it the reflex modification. And this is going to give Metal Sonic gains an overall reduction on his frame data and recovery time, boosting his combo potential. But that on its own is a little bit boring. And considering the characters that he'd probably copy, I think that this makes more sense as a bonus. Adding on to that, Metal Sonic can now special cancel a majority of his normals. So you get more combos and you can potentially special cancel them. Also, with this mechanic change depending on what Monado Arts Shulk has active if he's hit. That's a good question. I didn't really think about. I did not consider Shulk beyond not wanting this to devolve into being too similar to Monado Arts. Now the big question that needs to be asked here are should these modifications should the modifications be permanent upgrades to the character unless they're expelled? Now obviously they'd be lost when he loses his stock. They are permanent as long as he's currently alive. The way that they work for Rogue and Marvel 2 is they are temporary buffs. But does it make sense for Metal Sonic to lose access to the data that he copied mid-match for no reason whatsoever? I know he's been kind of shafted by a lot of the writers for like anything to do with Sonic media nowadays because they don't know what to do with him because he's objectively too powerful to be written into most scenarios and have it make sense. I think that they should be permanent unless they're expelled. Maybe Metal Sonic could lose them if he's hit too much. You know what? Perfect. Yeah, we're going to go with that. Modifications are permanent upgrades until either takes a collective... How much damage do we want to make it? We can't make it too low. 60%. 60% damage for copying his target, or he loses his current stock. Permanent until stock loss. Again, new down special depending on the buff in question. That's a little bit too much. No. The moveset does not change. The stats change. That right there is what crippled Brofang's moveset. There's no reason for him to be gaining new moves that he already had he should have had access to already based on who he copied.
Copy. Understand that this border area is pretty clear with threats. Check, please. Flaps up a little bit. Cool.
No, I'm not giving him an air dash. He doesn't need it. A hover and an extra jump is already really strong enough on its own. Yes, he is the same weight as Sonic. If you missed it, it's listed right here. He has same weight value, which I'll just put is 86. That's like one more than Zelda. So yeah, Sonic is pretty light, and so is Metal Sonic by comparison. I feel that he should also be able to lose the modification if he does down special without hitting an opponent. Well, I mean, yes, as I did mention here, that once the data is copied, it must be flushed from Metal Sonic's system by re-inputting down special in order to copy another character's data. Just curious if it would make him broken or not. I don't think it would make him broken, it's just really not necessary. Would the down special work as a counter? No, I imagine it's a command grab. Data extraction's a command grab. If I can like pull up a page. Let me see if I can pull up a video and show how I imagine I want this to work. Similar to Seth in Street Fighter V. I see you're showing off the copy moves. I need to see the actual... I want to show the actual, like, way he does it. Please. Perfect. Pull up a move list.
Show me something worth taking.
See if... Bros, no, I need... Where is... Is it really not in his move list? Oh, here. think. No. Yes, we know he has a Dimitri reference. Oh, they really didn't list, like, the key aspect of the character in the guy's move list? That's fucking disappointing. Excuse me, I need to go look for it now. Yeah, but yeah, it's not going to be a counter. Counter is way too heavily dependent on your opponent's reaction to the move. It should be something that you can actually accomplish on your own. You know what? The reveal trailer probably has exactly what I'm looking for.
Who is a piece of junk?
Yeah, here we go. That's basically what I want it to look like. It'd be similar, not the exact same, but you know, something that fits Metal Sonic's personality a bit better. Though I do like the concept of a character like copying data by just like impaling you with his claws, like ripping it out of you by force.
Witness the power of the Kangen engine. This is the power of the king. Your data will reside in me for eternity.
Also, if there's any visual indication on which type of modification Metal Sonic has currently... You know what? I should list that. Metal Sonic will perform a different pose and flash a color that coordinates to the buff he received once data extraction is complete. A text box will also appear above his head, detailing the buff received, a la Rogue from Marvel vs. Capcom 2. God damn it, Joe. Yes, it would be a command grab. In much the same way as what I just showed with Seth, that's what I want. That's what I would want data extraction to be. Maybe he grabs his opponent, scans them, and coldly throws them away. It's basically what I imagine it would be. Or they're like launched away from the force of him like ripping his claw out of their body. Metal Sonic should have something menacing like that. He should be menacing, because I feel like Sega has kind of forgotten how to make him menacing and kind of don't know how to power scale him anymore. Another thing that I think should also be focused on for moves is that Metal Sonic as a character, especially ever since they gave him the upgraded design in Sonic Rivals 2, because apparently, like, you know, Metal Sonic used to just be like the ball with the legs. He used to look like, essentially like this. used to be small. It always really looked weird that the legs were like this far up. Come on, please, thank you. It kind of always looked weird that that's how he used to look. So this bonus here is nice because yeah, you can move the character around normally, or you know, this character's spine could basically just move any way you want as long as it's attached to this little ball on the bottom. He's balling, but at what cost? The new character, there he is, everybody. Tennis ball. But since he's a machine, you know, his spine can basically turn around 360 degrees and not worry about anything. His joints can all move. Like, one of the reasons I really love designing robot characters, and the one that comes to mind immediately is when I designed the Emmy, like almost 4 years ago now, Jesus. But what's nice is that the way the joints work, they can spin and move 360 degrees. And since he's a machine, he doesn't need to worry about limitations that might be put in place because the character's organic. Like, for example, I'll pull up a comparison with this Sonic model. I usually use custom-made Sonic models for my videos because a lot of the models in the actual games are garbage. This is one that I use a lot. Like, for example, you move a character's arm. Like, let's say I want to move this joint. Like, it bends. If I spin it, oh no. Oh no, what happened? Oh no, what's happening? The way the organic character is weight painted, when you twist their joints the wrong way, you get fucking sausages like this. But with Metal Sonic, because he's a robot, you don't have to worry about that. Damn, that looks really weird. And the way the character should move should feel inorganic in the ways that a organic character wouldn't be able to get away with. Again, Metal Sonic, as long the way his body's attached to this, he can spin around 360 degrees and basically do whatever he wants. If I try that with Sonic, oh god. Oh god. Don't look right. I mean, you should be able to take a look at these two characters next to each other and immediately be able to tell what is the most optimal thing to use for attacks. And I think that's very clearly, you look at Metal Sonic's claws next to these should be weapons. These should be a primary weapon that he uses. The legs can also spin around 360 degrees because of they're attached to these little ball points here. But yeah. I want Metal Sonic as a character to feel mostly inorganic in the way that he fights. If there can be like a move in his list where he just like contorts in an awkward way. Like just imagine like he has a throw where his body turns around and he just blasts you with the turbine on his back. Is he floaty? I imagine he'd be the exact same gravity as Sonic. No real reason to change it. One thing I'll definitely say is that I really do not want to pull too much from Sonic the Fighters from Metal Sonic, because I don't know how many of you have actually seen how Metal Sonic animates in that game. With some of the characters, you could argue that it's not that bad of a reference point because of how highly expressive that game is. Metal Sonic in that game animates like garbage. He can't even close his hands. Like, for example, let me just, like, his fingers are, like, stuck like this. His hands are stuck like this. And he attacks like this. Not a fan. Metal Sonic in Super Sonic the Fighters is way too stiff. Yeah, like he'd be fighting with his claws like actual claws. Not like, you know, his hands would actually move. As a matter of fact, let's actually write this down. Noble weapons, we've got claws, we've got the turbine on his back and his front, so intake and jet. Highly dexterous limbs. .60 degrees. Yep, he definitely would have kicks. Kick attacks. His powerful legs, even if he doesn't actually run. Anyone should take from Sonic the Fighters other than Sonic, it's Tails. I'd argue Knuckles. Knuckles can pull a few things from Sonic the Fighters. I gave him a few things from Sonic the Fighters. He's got the access to energy projectiles of multiple kinds. However, most will be omitted to focus on his impressive playstyle. A new tool will be added to the list through his neutral special. He can produce energy barriers. Flash electric fields. Used through Black Shield and potential neutral air. Biggest focus should be his claws mixed with his near unmatchable speed. Yes, his nose is sharp, but anytime he gets his opponent close enough to actually hit them with his nose, he can hit them with something a lot harder. Chaps his nose into the opponent to collect data like a mosquito. Let's talk about, let's pull up, you know, as usual for my videos, we have a list of strengths and we have a list of weaknesses. Strengths, obviously, it's extremely fast. He's based off of the fastest character in the game. Highly versatile, thanks to character mechanic. And he also has some incredible, he has an incredible neutral presence, much like Sonic. And of course, as like Sonic, he is also very burst heavy. As for his weaknesses, he is light, so he's easy to launch. He's slippery, it's hard to control. His traction probably be on par with Banjo, who's like one of the worst in the game. I'd probably say Data. He's not as effective in multiplayer matches compared to compared to one-on-one. Yeah, yes, we all know Luigi lost his crown, and I hope he gets it back in the next game. Never noticed that Banjo is slippery. Banjo has the worst traction in the game. And since we have mostly Smash Ultimate to work off of right now, putting him on par with the worst traction in the game, I think, is fitting. I think, like in every game like this, that's kind of been Metal Sonic's weakness. It was his weakness in Sonic R. It was his weakness in Sonic Drift 2. I don't know about Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing, but it definitely feels like it might have been. Also for strengths, we're definitely say that because of his ability to copy data and potentially make himself stronger, he has snowball potential, where once he starts going, kind of be hard to stop him. Works both for and against him in some spots. But yes, we stated his playstyle is definitely rushdown. Definitely a vortex heavy / aggressive rushdown character. His ease of use, definitely, I think it'd probably be somewhere in the middle. He'd probably be no more complicated to play than Sonic. You'd either be a 2 or a 3. Well, Ultimate Sonic is Rushdown. He just has no reason to play Rushdown because he can play neutral just as well as he can Rushdown. That's why designing aspects of a character around keeping him close to his foe and maintaining offense is kind of important when designing a character from the Sonic series, especially one that's meant to be really speedy like Sonic. It was a major factor in most of Shadow's design. And while I don't think it's as highly emphasized in, it would be highly emphasized in Metal's design, it definitely should still somewhat be there. Has there ever been a 5-star ease of use character yet? I don't think so. Like a 5 out of 5 ease of use character would be like a super beginner friendly character that is like that people would be encouraged to play when they're first picking up the game. Which I think like the best example you can give of that is Kirby. Kirby's like a 5 out of 5 on the ease of use scale. All right, let's start discussing move ideas. And I think the most interesting place for us to start, obviously, is we gotta talk about the specials. These are the character's most important moves, and arguably the moves of the most, they require the most work. And I think, obviously, we got one already, because, we got down special, which, yes, that's going to be extraction. Command grab that allows Metal Sonic to copy the data of the opponent he grabbed. Metal is invulnerable during the copy phase, so he cannot be knocked out of it by other players in multiplayer matches. The type of opponent will correlate with the data that Metal receives. This buff is permanent until the player either ejects it themselves, they take % damage after copying, or they lose their current stock. One thing I'm gonna add, the command grab can be performed when data has already been extracted for damage/combo purposes, but doing so will not result in more data unless the current data is flushed. Do I always design special moves first? Not always, but I definitely think that that's the part where this is the spot where most people are the most interested. And it's arguably, I feel, where a lot of people do start. For some characters, it is where I start. It depends on how centric the special moves are to the overall gameplay of the character. Almost always, special moves are very important to a character's game plan, but some are definitely more important than others. So let's talk about the other specials. Also, let's also just get this one out of the way. Obviously, the final smash is going to be Metal Overlord. Easiest final smash to give. We'll discuss more how we make it work once we're done talking about the other specials. How does the command grab still work if the buff is active? I imagine it just does damage. He's impaling you with his claws in order to extract the damage, so... it basically just becomes a standard command grab at that point. Alright. To be honest, Metal Sonic specials are probably fairly easy to come up with. Like obviously, let's start with the side special, because I think the neutral special is going to be the one that's most interesting and potentially the most divisive, because I do have an idea for it. And we'll see how that goes. But obviously, I think for side special, we're going to give him the V Maximum Overdrive, but we're just going to call him Metal Overdrive. Charge special that will have Metal Sonic build up energy before rushing forward at a speed that dwarfs even his run speed. Much like the spin dash does in comparison to Sonic's run speed. It's kind of insane how much faster the spin dash is than Sonic actually is himself. This move is a high priority physical attack that will push through all foes in its path, even passing through shields. Wouldn't he just flush the buff instead of performing the command grab? Attack. Wait, you're right. We might have to change it so that he can expel it through other means. We might have to make it a taunt thing. Or... I'm just gonna note... undecided on flushing the data through down special or through extra means like a taunt. Flushing the data should act as a damaging move in some way, shape, form if it is still connected to the down special. We'll come back to that. Anyways, back to Metal Overdrive, impassive shields. This move sports a lengthy recovery animation and will put Metal Sonic into freefall if it is used over a blast zone. Charging this move will increase its damage and the distance it covers. Metal Sonic cannot turn around once he has initiated the overdrive. trying to think if there's anything else I want to add to that, but I think that's probably, as I said, Metal Sonic's specials for the most part are very standard. And would definitely be focused around, you know, his incredible speed. This move has the potential to serve as a very powerful stock closer when combined with reflex modification. Can you cancel his momentum with something else? I think the biggest problem with Spin Dash is how difficult it is to punish. Well, the thing is that I imagine the Metal Overdrive is closer to that of Flare Blitz than that of Spin Dash. I use the example of Spin Dash that it's notably faster than the actual speed of the character. I imagine that this is a high risk, I'll even write it down. High risk, high reward, fuck it, we ball move. Is it multi-hit? I would probably say no. So it's a Flare Blitz that passes through shields. It is a more versatile Flare Blitz that passes through shields. Also serves as an excellent horizontal recovery option thanks to its extremely high priority and ability to pass through defenses. But I'll even put in the bonus, can be ledge canceled. So if a Metal Sonic player knows how to line themselves up with a ledge, then they might be able to, you know, act out of it notably faster than they would before. Yes, it travels further if it's charged. I'd say that it would have to definitely move like almost a stage's length in order to actually work. Also, excuse me, I'm gonna move this over here so you can see what I'm typing. Just gonna move them to the other side, I'm sorry. It's like Ike's Quick Draw in a way. It's like an in-between for a lot of those moves. You don't charge it super long like Ike's Quick Draw. And it's not also super detrimental to Metal Sonic like Flare Blitz is to Charizard. It's definitely somewhere of an in-between all of those. I think that's fine for Metal Overdrive for now. For recovery special, we're probably gonna make something a little custom here. I'm gonna call this Metal Rocket. We're gonna say Metal Sonic builds up energy in his turbine before rocketing off in a direction chosen by the player. Standard recovery option that covers a lot of distance and does solid damage on hit, but will force Metal Sonic into a free fall once the attack has concluded. Similar in execution. I think my music just stopped. Give me a second. Oh, damn, it did. Similar in execution to moves like Wing Blitz, which is Ridley's, and Fire, Fox. However, we'll add a bonus to this. In aerial modification, this move gets a distance boost and does not put Metal Sonic into a free fall. A useful combo ender when combined with reflex modification. Yeah, it does damage on hit, like on contact. Like he builds up energy in his turbine and then just rockets in a chosen direction. Something that makes sense for the character, very simple. Doesn't need to be, again, he's a machine. He's not here to show off. Most efficient way to solve a problem. Rocket to the chosen location. Go through anything in your path. Makes total sense for a character like Metal Sonic. Something very, again, very simple. Effective, but simple. Up B and side B are both combo enders and reflex modification. Well, because he can special cancel, all of his special moves are technically combo enders. But they are not designed to be used in tandem with other attacks. You're not going to combo out of them. So yes. At most, they are combo enders. Not extensions. That's pretty simple. Alright, got Metal Overdrive, side special, Metal Rocket up special. Down special would be, of course, his data extraction. Now let's talk about his neutral special. Because this is something that's going to make or break a lot of this design for some of you. Now, this design, this move that I came up with, was originally designed for Sonic, like actual Sonic, for like a moveset redesign of Sonic. But I think that it works just as well for Metal, so I'm giving it to Metal as well. And this move is called Rain Cannon / Lightspeed Rush. This was essentially a way to redesign the homing attack and have it work better in a game like Smash Brothers. The way that the homing attack works now, it sucks. It was literally only ever used that way by Sonic in Sonic 06, which, considering the fact that Sonic's victory theme is Sonic 06, is probably where the idea came from. But this is essentially two moves in one, and it is a move that is designed to add on to Metal Sonic's offensive strength. So the way this move works is when the player holds the B button, Metal Sonic will begin to spin his turbine building up energy as the player can tilt control stick up or down to alter Metal Sonic's launch angle. Once the B button is released, Metal Sonic will eject a ring out from the front of his turbine that will soar through the air in an arc that is affected by the angle the player has chosen. This ring works as a physical projectile and once it makes contact with a foe, it will bounce off of them and essentially stick to them as if they picked up a ring in the Sonic series. Even plays the same sound effect as picking up a ring in said series. This ring will appear over the foe's head signifying that they have been marked. And if Metal Sonic is within a set distance of the foe who is marked, they will glow. They will gain a yellow aura. Probably tell where this is going. If the B button is pressed again within this set range, Metal Sonic will immediately rush towards the target while performing a homing attack, damaging them and expelling the buff. This can be done both on its own or after performing other attacks, allowing Metal Sonic to potentially chase his foe deep off screen or towards the top blast zone and confirm a kill. This ring will stay active until the homing attack is used or until 8 seconds have elapsed. That is basically my redesign of the homing attack. It's basically combining it with the lightspeed dash. It's sort of similar to what Sonic does in Sonic Battle, but it's more refined now. Yes, it's a set play tool, essentially, yes. So you can hit somebody with this ring, and you can stick to them for a while. You can then rush up, start a combo, force them into a scenario where they have to tech. Then, you punish their tech, and then immediately, when you're at a point where Metal Sonic would not be able to normally chase, you then immediately push the B button to close the gap and potentially continue your combo. Or even close out the foe's stock. That is my concept for Metal Sonic's neutral special. I don't think he needs lasers. I don't think he should be randomly pulling out abilities that Metal Overlord uses, because frankly it doesn't make any sense. I think something nice and simple works perfectly. No, it doesn't attach to the people. It does not attach to an opponent if they have their shield up. But what's nice is that it essentially is a great way of dealing with opponents that try to that want to wall you out. Because while the ring doesn't deal a ton of damage, it does cause the opponent to flinch, and it's an extremely fast projectile. So if you've got an opponent like Mewtwo or Samus that are sitting on the other side of the screen, trying to get their charge shot up, launching this out and constantly harassing them so that they are not allowed to get it up all the way is an effective strategy. It would be designed to be Metal Sonic's primary long-range option. Although, since he's Metal Sonic, I'm sure you and I don't need to tell you about, how easy it is for him to close that gap. If the move is reflected, it simply just disappears once it makes contact with Metal Sonic. He'll take damage, a small chunk of damage, which would be notably higher than what it would normally do, because that's the way reflections work. But he wouldn't divide 0 by 0 and have a fatal syntax error. Although that would be funny. Does the charge increase the distance? No. The charge is kind of just there for flavor text. It's basically just you hold the B button and you get to angle it, and then you shoot it. At the very least, it's a creative way of adding homing attack and not making it identical to Sonic's. Because Metal Sonic does know how to use homing attack. It's one of the main abilities he uses in Episode Metal in Sonic the Hedgehog 4 Episode 2. Again, it's not really a charge, it's just you can just hold it in order to alter the angle. Maybe I would add an aspect like Snake's grenades, where if you hit the control stick forward, maybe you'll shoot it faster, or maybe if you hold back on the control stick, you'll shoot it slower. Oh, before I forget. In defense matrix projectile modification, this move gains extra range and damage, becoming a nearly full screen physical projectile with medium priority. The effects of Lightspeed Rush are not altered by data. By this modification. Correction. Also, can opponents dodge the second attack if they time their shield or dodge well? Yes, just like regular homing attack, you can dodge it. It's just Metal Sonic's is, because of the extra step in order to be able to use it, is notably faster and notably hard to react to. No, you're asking questions. You're asking important questions. I don't think you should feel bad about that at all, honestly. Trust me, I'm saying a lot too, and I'm realizing that like I haven't done that in a long time. Yeah, this is the series where you're supposed to ask questions. It's giving you an insight into how I go about designing characters. This could be a very versatile move. That is the plan. Have you considered making shield special the input for expelling a buff so Metal Sonic can perform the command grab with a buff active? I do have it noted. Undecided on whether it's attached to the down special or extra means like a taunt. Now let's just turn the Data Flush into a Roman cancel. Metal Sonic just like expels the data, like he does like a damage burst around himself, like it's short range, but it has high hit stun. It has high hit stun and it cancels quickly, so it essentially is a Roman cancel. Would be the same regardless of the buff he received. I imagine so, yeah. Could he RC into command grab then? I would say no, because the way that I would imagine that the command grab would work is that it has to be led into. I would imagine you'd have a variety of ways to lead or combo into it, but I would say there would probably have to be a small buffer window. Like, it wouldn't be like a super fast command grab like Bowser's side special. It'd probably be closer to something like Incineroar's side special, where there's a small wind up before it happens. Is your idea for Metal Sonic's neutral special something you'd like Sonic to have too? Yes. It was originally designed for Sonic, so... Let me think, is there anything else I want to add? Also, I'm gonna quickly just BRB to use the bathroom. You know, I'm gonna just throw you an ad. Excuse me, God, voice crack. Alright, I'm back. Sorry about that. Okay. I think that is the ideas for the neutral special. Sorry, for the specials in general. Neutral special will be the Ring Cannon / Lightspeed Rush. Side special will be Metal Overdrive. Up special will be Metal Rocket. And down special will be his central character mechanic, which is data extraction. And of course, we have Metal Overlord as the final smash. Will be discussed at a later date. Alright. Let's move on to some other moves. Let's talk about some normals. Sonic's normals will be comprised attacks courtesy of his claws, all while a woman. Don't want to respell it. All while maneuvering his body in inorganic ways to increase his range and maximize his damage. Let me see if I can pull up a different playlist, since I keep going through the same one all the time. Oh god. BJ, that fucking Hornet Arc is a little bit rough. There's so much music I wish I could play on stream without having the stream like get deleted and muted. Perfect. We're gonna put on some Hotline Miami too. Alright, let's see. Neutral combo. I imagine this would be something like very simple. We'll call this like metallic slash sequence. Metal Sonic will attack front of himself with a horizontal claw slash, and then before following up with a vertical slash, then ending the combo with a roundhouse kick. His lower half spinning around while his upper half remains in place. And launches foes away. Something very, very simple, but it has that nice inorganic flavor of this is a robot, not a regular living creature. Let's see, 4 tilts. We're gonna call this Hunter's Spear. And we're going to say Metal Sonic will thrust his arm forward, stabbing with tips of his sharpened claws and dealing a high shield pressure in the process. This is based on his Slash Claw ability from Sonic Fighters and is designed to serve as a neutral poke that can potentially lead into follow-ups off of Lightspeed Rush and Metal Overdrive. It's not, in a sense, like Incineroar's, but he'd like fully push his body forward. Like, let me pull up SFM. Like, I imagine the way it would work is just an example. Well, we'll design the move in actuality probably in the next stream, I would imagine. Next stream's probably going to just be dedicated to starting the move design for Metal Sonic, like, in its actuality. I imagine the way it would work is just hit the one so that, like, his fingers are, like, fully elongated. His hand would be something like this. I imagine it would be something along the lines of, like, fully out like this. Like his whole body is being put into it. And, you know, as a bonus, because, you know, we're working with these designs, in order to emphasize the attack, we would probably add something like, you know, a scale to it. So, like, his arm gets bigger to emphasize the impact. I'll even, like, move the fingers together a little bit, just so you have an idea. Like they're all, like, on a point. So it's like a spear tip. There's something like that. Like, let me pull up since I can show the comparison with Incineroar's. Like, Incineroar's is like, while he's putting a little bit of his body into it, he's still, like, holding himself back a decent amount. I imagine Metal Sonic is, like, fully putting his entire self into pushing his hand forward and, like, striking with that blow. Like, his legs would be, like, probably, like, super close to the ground. Like that. This is the final piece. This is just an example for those of you that they're only getting in here. So something where he's, like, putting his entire body into it. I'll even like move his eyes. Mel, your foot looks a little wrong there, sir. I'm gonna fix that. Yeah, something where it's just like full, like everything is being put into pushing the body forward, and that's what you get. It would look a lot better. It will look a lot better than this when we actually end up doing the move, though. Don't worry. Matter of fact, throw that leg away for now. Because I can't get it right at the moment. There we go. He put so much of his body into it, he lost a leg in the process. I'll even like... There you go. But yeah, that's basically what I would expect. So, minimize that for now. I'll also say, not entirely sure if it should have a tipper mechanic or not. How would you handle his ability to copy and make it different from Kirby? I already went over that. You might have not been there for that, so I'll explain it very briefly. Essentially, he'd be able to extract data from his foes, but instead of extracting moves, he extracts a buff for himself, with the modification he gets being dependent on which character he absorbs. The character list will be made probably... No, I probably will make the character list at least this stream, because again, this stream is mainly the brainstorming / the rough stuff before we actually start working on moves for real. But essentially, you get one of these. One of these, you can pause to read these, but essentially, depending on the character, he gets one of these modifications. He can then, they are permanent, unless he expels them himself, or he takes 60% damage, or loses stock. Yes, it's notably different from Kirby, while being very true to Metal Sonic as a character. Alright, for up tilts, I say we make a parallel to Sonic's move. Sonic does a double kick for his up tilt. We're gonna call this Scrap Circlet. And the way this works is Metal Sonic will perform a wide overhead kick. His turbine briefly hovering his upper half off the ground while his lower half rotates independently and knocks foes upwards on hit. Hits once, but has a large range and sports a disjoint on Metal's foot. Like, for just to give an example of what I mean, imagine it be something like this, where it's like the leg is like up and over his head like this. Again, we'll refine this when we get to it, but this just looks really weird. Like, his lower half would spin, while his upper half, I would, like, you know, have his head, like, tilted up to look, see what the hell's going on. They, like, alter it so it's, like, open like this. And of course, give it a bit of scale to emphasize the attack hitbox. Yeah, you get Bigfoot. And show a bit of force. Show, like, how quick it is. You know, you're normally not supposed to bend the leg this way, but, you know, you bend it a little bit forward just to show, like, the force of the animation, since it's still. You know, you have like an arm up, and it probably have like an arm back here. Move it like this. Like tilt it. Yeah, so something like this. Again, it's just a rough. I think you get the idea. You do a large kick. Like this. It will definitely look better when we actually get to making it look proper, I promise. But if you want an example, like an alternate example that actually is finished, somebody actually mentioned it. But yes, it actually is fairly similar to what I had for Shadow. Let me pull it up. So like something like this. But again, making it look a little bit more inorganic because, again, Metal Sonic is a machine. He doesn't need to worry about the constraints of working the body properly. Let's see what else. Hits once, has hits once, but has a large range and sports disjoint Mel's foot. Combo starter, anti-air, and more. Quick startup and recovery. Similar to most high-speed characters. And as for his down tilt, we'll call this Scrap Circlet's also like a pretty good name for this one too, sadly. But I'm not gonna name the same move. It's the move, two moves, the same move. Although I've done that in the past and I've gotten flack for it. We're gonna call this Hollow Spinner, and it's called Hollow Spinner because it's a hollow. It is a fairly close copy of the same move that Sonic does. So Metal Sonic will spin close to the ground, attacking with a low hitting kick that will pop foes up into the air on hit. Metal Sonic's arm will remain in place and rotate while the rest of his body spins around. Once again, adding that inorganic element to a move that feels so familiar. This move can lead into a variety of follow-up options, and is very quick to recover. It's similar to Sonic's, so like for example, like Sonic's looks like this. I imagine in comparison. Hang on. Sorry, let me shrink this down a little bit. I don't even need the full screen for it anyways. So while Sonic's looks like this, I imagine Metal's probably be more facing the screen. We're just gonna whoop. Spine probably be like up like this. The main thing would be that this arm would like be in place and it would not move. So while the rest of his body would move around in the circle, this arm would like stay completely still. Of course, it'd probably be closer to like this. No, like this. Striking with this foot. And theming it so that it looks like this. What's nice is that Metal Sonic's feet actually can be posed like this, so it's better for showing motion. And then from there, you know, of course, we would increase the size. emphasize, this aspect. This is the active hitbox. Probably be something very similar to something like this. But, well, the body moves. Everything will move from Metal Sonic except the arm. Alright. And for his dash attack, we're gonna go with probably one of the few moves from Sonic the Fires which is actually a decent reference and is actually somewhat decently animated because all they had to do was just spin the model. We're gonna give him the Emerald Dive. Metal Sonic will spin around while propelling himself through the air, dealing damage to all foes in his path, and launching them with notable force. So for those of you that are curious as to what that looks like, let me show you. Give me a second. So it looks like this. He spins, and then he launches himself forward. Covers a large horizontal range, and sports solid damage, but is very unsafe on shield thanks to its fairly slow recovery speed. This can potentially turn into a do or die option if the player is unfamiliar with Metal Sonic's mobility and is unable to stop themselves normally. I.e., they fling themselves off the stage if they don't stop their momentum with something like dash attack. High risk, high reward can be used to close out stocks at higher percents. So his grounded options are fairly simple. He's got a standard punch kick combo for his neutral combo. Or tilt, he gets a unique type of move where he gets to stab with his claws into a slash. Up tilt is a arcing kick. Down tilt is a spinning kick, and dash attack is a spinning rush. Fairly standard. Let's move on to his smash attacks. And I'm just gonna lay these out in order because this is how I usually do them. The aerials, and then after that you got the grab, throws, and then you know we got character extras. We're gonna need like victory theme, victory animations, taunts, and colors. Character extras are inconsequential and will be discussed when the moveset itself is finalized. This stuff is the important stuff. This is the stuff that needs to be properly ironed out. Now come on, man. How long have you been watching my videos? I always separate ground and normals from smash attacks. Their purposes are notably different, and therefore they should be in a different category. The question is, how do we want to handle Metal Sonic's smash attacks? These are the attacks that are meant to be notably different from the rest of the kit, and arguably his most powerful burst damage options. That is tricky, because, again, I don't want to just randomly have him pull out and use things that don't make sense. I'm not giving him a projectile smash attack. Abso-fucking-lutely not. Sonic does Big Punch, Spin, and Breakdance Kick. If we want to use that as a starting point, instead of Big Punch, then Metal Sonic should do Big Slash. But a generic Big Slash is kind of boring. So let's go back to Sonic the Fighters and look for inspiration. And by that I mean there's actually one thing that could potentially make sense. And the way but we're not going to do it one for one. Because if we did one for one, we'd be giving him a projectile smash attack, and we don't need that. So, Metal Sonic, one of Metal Sonic's most important moves in his Fighters iteration is the Metal Laser. It is a move that is completely unblockable, and if timed properly can basically chain itself ad infinitum, and basically like 0 to death people. Also does a shit ton of damage. I don't want to give him... Also, that can happen. I don't want to give him that specifically. At least not directly. I think I might have an idea. Nope, we're gonna call this fire. We're gonna call this forward smash Plasma Razor. We're gonna give Metal. I know Metal's. The entire description has been use a machine, efficiency over showiness. Let's give Metal Sonic just a smidgen, just the tiniest bit. If there's anywhere I think it's okay, it's the smash attacks. We're gonna give him a smidgen of aura. And the way this works, Plasma Razor, is Metal Sonic will well up plasma energy within the intake flow of his turbine, which he'll now I want to word this, which he'll well up in his hand as he rakes his claws across his chest. This is the charge animation. Once the attack is charged, Metal Sonic will perform a large vertical claw slash, causing the plasma energy to blast outwards once his claw comes into contact with the floor. This large blast of energy is a disjoint and covers a solid horizontal range. Providing Metal Sonic with a reliable kill confirm and a move that at worst can clank with a majority of the game's strongest smash attack options. Yep, if Sonic gets a stupidly long-range smash attack, then Metal Sonic gets something arguably even better. We need like a visual example. I can't imagine like the charge animation. Like he's rearing back like this. Not gonna bother posing the legs. Which arm do I want to be the one that actually performs the attack? Either one is... No, I'm gonna make it... Yeah, the right. So like his hand would be on his chest. Like there'd be like plasma energy like welling up in here. And during like the charge animation, like he'd like just put these closer in. Like he like rack his like he like collected essentially in his hand by as he racks his claws along his chest. Like it would pull back. And then once that's done, essentially what would happen is this arm would be like overhead, like oof, into the floor. And then once the hand makes contact with the floor, And like once that hand makes contact with the floor, like energy would like blast out in front of him, like a wave of like blue energy would like burst outwards. Don't worry, I assure you, it will look good when the final product is made. Okay. As for the up smash, the down smash, this is where I'm a little bit stuck on how I want to handle it. And frankly, from what I've seen of Metal Sonic movesets in general, not a lot of people know how to handle the up smash or down smash either. The Plasma Razor is a creative reinterpretation of the Plasma Beam ability from Sonic the Fighters. It turns essentially just a generic beam attack into a powerful physical attack. This is where I'm a little bit stuck. How I want to handle this. Well, there could be a point of reference. Could be Sonic, but Sonic's up smash and down smash are not exactly the greatest. You know what? I think I might have something for the up smash. We're gonna call this Metal Tornado. Essentially, what this is going to be is Metal Sonic will rush upwards into the air using his turbine, his claws extended and slashing around him rapidly as his upper half spins in place and his lower half remains still. A multi-hitting up smash that starts low to the ground and can potentially catch boss trying to get off the floor or potentially the ledge. Metal Sonic will perform a powerful outward arcing slash. So like his hands would be like, I know this looks weird because again, Sonic characters have weird anatomy, so like his hands would be up over his head and then he'd like slash downwards until yeah, that'd basically be the end of it. And the attack. This move can potentially high profile incoming lows and protect Metal Sonic from incoming damage. It's almost like, again, somewhat of a creative interpretation on Sonic having a rapid hitting up smash. So Metal Sonic will have a rapid hitting up smash, except the way he does it is notably different, and to him is more effective. Let me see, what else? And, down smash, I'm stuck. I don't know what I want to do for the down smash. Like, I'll list a couple of ideas, like, you know, bring back the metal laser, have metal spin around to strike on either side of himself, question mark. Metal Sonic releases a powerful electric discharge at his feet, blasting on either side of himself. Option. Metal Sonic overloads his turbine and creates a blast of flame that hits on both sides simultaneously, question mark. Metal Sonic hooks his arm into the ground and uses his turbine to spin around in place really quickly, attacking with an outstretched kick. To potentially be turned into a breakdance kick with both legs extended. Like, these are just a couple, these are just some of my, I'm just throwing shit at the wall. And I'm thinking about which one sounds the best. move this off. No, it's fine. Again, this is what I do when I'm stuck with a move that I don't really know what to do with. I just jot down ideas. And I keep jotting down ideas until I run out of them, and then I choose from the list of which one sounds the best. Of course, you also have the Metal Sonic slashes on either side of himself. Similar to the likes of Wolf. I almost feel like that's too generic. What else? You know what? Okay, I got it. Okay, I know which one I'm going to use. We're going to call it Metal Burst. Metal Sonic will well up electricity in his arm before violently smashing it into the floor below him, creating an outward blast of electricity that will hit both sides simultaneously and damage all foes in its area of effect. Get rid of all this. All right. Metal Sonic will push himself off the ground as he attacks, potentially allowing him to high profile incoming lows and avoid taking incoming damage. No, it's just one arm. Both arms would look weird. Hits in a ball around Metal Sonic, allowing it to potentially also hit foes above him. This references a number of Metal Sonic's abilities and is also a slight tongue-in-cheek reference to Neo Metal Sonic. Okay. And you know what? I think that might be a good place to stop for now. We will come back to this on the 21st. I think. Today's the 7th, correct? Yes, today's the 7th. So yeah, there's on the 21st of March, we will come back to this. The next time we will finish coming up with the moves, and then we are going to start delving straight into actually making the attack animations. It's going to be definitely more of a... Again, as I said, today was going to be the day that was mostly just brainstorming and talking about ideas. The next stream... Am I streaming tomorrow? No. I am not streaming tomorrow. This is just for today. This is a bi-weekly thing that is going to be happening. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed this. This is definitely... I definitely feel that I should have been a little bit more prepared for this than I was, but I'll definitely try and make sure that next time I'm better prepared for this and have more things ready to go. But for now, I thank you for watching, and I will see you in 2 weeks for episode 2. And the next stream will probably be longer because it'll be focused more around, you know, working on poses, actually doing moves instead of just making Temu versions of what they're eventually going to look like. But yes, that is going to be stream for me today. I thank you all for watching, and I'll see you later for whatever I decide to do. Who's next? Why are you asking who's next? We've only finished episode 1. You'll know who's next when it's time. Enjoy what's here. Stop always worrying about what's next. Yeah, I'm gonna close this out now.